Hello guys, and welcome to this new video. So today we are going to watch the last round of the Russian Chess Championship. So we are going to follow the games of Yakovenko and Koryakin here, and of Tomaszewski and Zviller. The thing is that Tomaszewski was half a point in front of Koryakin before this game, so we will follow a bit both games at some certain moment of them. So at the end of the opening, we are going to make a first asset, a first estimation of what just happened, who has still chance to be the champion, who is in a position where he can, if Koryakin is in a position to retake the lead over Tomaszewski, and so that's the way we'll follow the game. So we are starting with Yakovenko-Koryakin. So Koryakin is black. He has to win this game in order to have a chance to win the tournament. So he decides to play the Sicilian, and he goes with the very sharp variation, the Najdorf with this move a7, a6. So Yakovenko goes bishop e3, knight g4, bishop g5, h6, all that is theory, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, bishop g7, a well-known analyzed variation and opening. So we can see that Yakovenko is also trying to win the game. I mean, he is also a contender in the tournament, and he has the rating and all the things that makes that you always want to win a chess game, especially if you play with the white pieces and you're a professional player. So h5, bishop g4, pawn g4, this is theoretical, knight d5, knight c6, knight f5, bishop f5, pawn f5. So, I mean, I don't want to comment too much the theory, of course, because you don't really know what to say. It was played for 1,000 times, not 1,000 times, but it was analyzed for 1,000 hours by some players, if we take all the work being done. And it's a very sharp line, so it's not even really positional. I mean, you see a6, by the way, is a move that is done to play b5 and launch an attack on the queen side, but it was not even done here. All those variations are analyzed with computers, so there are some moves that are even not natural for human being. So bishop takes b2, rook b1. So while black just won a pawn, but it has a bad pawn structure, and also a lot of holes, and this knight on d5 is strong, so white is able to have some pressure. So now queen a5 check. Also when you move the bishop back, the pawn is falling. Queen a5 check, queen d2, and here the moves that was played, Koryakin is going to go bishop f6, but the move that was played is classical, is bishop d4, queen a5, knight a5, knight c7 check. So you see the knight is protecting the pawn, but here we win an exchange with white, bishop c3, the intermediate move, king e2, and rook takes a8. And the computer gives this position are more or less equal. It's really hard to understand the ins and the outs, but what we can see is that it's hard for white to re-win this pawn, because it's hard to land on the fourth rank, as the bishop controls the two squares, and black will play rook c8, rook c5, and be able to retake the pawn and try to push those two pawns to the center. So that's the counterplay for black. That's why it has some compensation. So if black can achieve rook c8, rook c5, rook f5, and pawn e5 and f5, it has the advantage. But of course white is not going to sleep while black does that, so this position is unbalanced. But Koryakin decides to go bishop f8, so this is a novelty, and I don't think it's really a good move, because at least white can go queen a5, knight a5, rook b7, and the best move is anyway bishop c3 check. But here white has the option to play rook takes b7, which is even by the computer even a better move, because anyway anytime you can eat this bishop and make double pawns on f6. So rook b7, a good move, and we will stop here in the Yakovenko-Koryakin game. I would say this is a sharp game, so black still has chance to win, but white has a slight advantage. So this is the estimation we have at the end of the opening on the Yakovenko-Koryakin game, which is favoring Tomaszewski. So Tomaszewski is playing against Peter Zvidler. Let me go to the game. Forgot to switch the boards. So he's playing against Zvidler, and we can see he's having to face a Grunfeld. So he goes with bishop f4. He doesn't want to have a too sharp position. Pawn to g7, pawn to e3, c5, pawn takes. All that is story. So Zvidler is a very, very big specialist of the Grunfeld. Castle, knight ge2, knight c6, castle. So black can retake the pawn. So it's equal materially, and the position is not too sharp. So white goes with knight b5. All that is a preparation, of course. Bishop e6, bishop d3, attacking the queen and keeping a knight on the bishop. Because if you would make this cover and you would feel really smart, like I just want a piece and I thread his queen, he would just go queen takes b5. He would attack your bishop and attack your pawn. So white didn't go this way. So bishop d3. All that is theoretical as well. Queen b4. And here the theoretical move is pawn to a3, queen b3, bishop b3, and knight e4 by example. And I think this was just totally equal, and I don't know why Tomaszewski didn't wait for that, because things that after a3, if you go queen b2, your queen is going to get trapped after rook b1. Queen a2 is the only square, and knight ec3, just winning the queen, which cannot go on any square. All the squares are controlled. So that's why you cannot take the pawn, and you have to go queen b3 or queen a5 if you would like. But here Tomaszewski went knight c7 is probably a preparation. Bishop takes a2. So it's pretty much forced, because if you move the rook and you let white take your bishop like that with this pawn structure, it's never going to be good for black. So you have to go for the pawn. Knight a8, rook a8, rook a1. So straightening the bishop. Bishop e6, queen a4. So we want to thread the queens. Knight d5. Bishop b5, attacking the knight. Putting pressure on the knight, because you would win a pawn. Here black could have gone queen. He went knight takes f4, but he could have gone queen a4, rook a4, knight b6, bishop c6, pawn c6, rook a5, and bishop b2, which is the line that is given by the computer. He says it's close to it's unbalanced. It's no advantage for either player, because you have these pawns is always going quickly, so white has to keep an eye on it, and the minor pieces are looking good for black for the moment, but the position is already really opened, and the rooks have a lot of open files to talk. So it's unbalanced, but I would say that most probably it ends by a draw, this end game. So bishop b5, knight takes f4, knight takes f4. I just would like is going to an end game, so I want to go to the end game, and then we will make an estimation. So bishop b3, the queen is blocked. Queen takes b3 and queen takes b4 and knight takes b4, and so here we have an end game. So just wanted to go to the same stage in both games. What do we have? We have an exchange up here for Tomaszewski. So Koryakin no, he's not an exchange down. Is he an exchange down? No, he's not. His opponent didn't take the exchange. So Koryakin is not. Just I've been analyzing the line, and I kind of forgot while doing the video what was on the other board. So Koryakin is slightly worse in a non-balanced position, still has chance to win. And Tomaszewski, it's an unbalanced position as well, but I would say that this one is closer to a draw if he wants to, because being a neck change up, if you don't play too aggressively, most of the time in those endgames you manage to make the draw without much problem. So now the only problem for white is not to lose the b2 pawn and face two passed pawns, because if you face two passed pawns, they are really quick to advance, and it's hard to play. But if you manage just to win one, it makes life a lot easier. So I think that Tomaszewski is achieving what he wanted out of this opening. I think he's pretty glad of the position he got. So let's go back to the game of Yakovenko against Koryakin now. So rook b7 was just played. Black castles. Queen takes a5 is going to be the move played by Yakovenko. So he's going to play queen a5. Maybe the idea of black is that here knight e7 looks inviting. Black goes king g7. Now you go knight takes c6, because you cannot take with if you take here with the knight, you lose your queen. So this is the bad news. And if you take with the bishop, the king is on g7. White now can take your queen, and take your bishop. And so here it's a very favorable endgame for white. As you see, it's 4 pawn, and here it's 5 pawn. So it's a pawn up, and the pawn structure is favorable for white as well. And we have the bishop against the knight. So this is two good news for white. So here it was so 97. Sorry, just my phone call during the video, so just got me a bit out. So the idea of black was playing king g7, and here you might think that that white is a piece up. Knight takes c6, rook f e8 check, king d1, and queen takes a2. And white is a piece up, but when you analyze with the computer, it's really complicated, it's really sharp, and I think white might be in trouble. So maybe it was a little trap by Koryakin, and that's the explanation why he played the bishop f6, trying to bring Yakovenko in this dangerous turf, hoping to play a 3-result game where he's really comfortable with his homework. And it was really dangerous for Yakovenko, but he could have gone for it. The thing is that Yakovenko was more cautious. He went queen takes a5, knight takes a5, and now if you go knight e7, it's met by king g7. The rook and the knight are attacked, and the king is still in the center, so you have to play rook c7, rook f e8, so attacking the bishop 2 times. Bishop takes d6, rook a d8, so threatening the bishop. White goes bishop c5, bishop c3. So this line is going to be pretty beautiful. That's why I'm showing it. King e2, rook d2 check. So you cannot go king f1 because of rook d1. So king e3, knight c4 check, king e4. Bishop to f6, so relocate the bishop to attack the knight. Now, by example, rook b1, and how would you play here with black? And so the move is rook e d8, threatening the checkmate on d4. So just wanted to say to show you what could happen for white if you take the pawn. This is just an example. It's not necessarily all the best move for white, but anyway, one way or another, you're falling to a very strong attack. So white went rook b4, rook b8, bishop takes d6. So now, if you take, white is retaking, and if you take on b4, white is taking the rook. So you cannot, you can't really take anything. So yeah, so I just wanted to show you, if you take knight takes f6, king g7, and here you should not go rook b8, because rook b1 check is coming and the knight is attacked. But what should you play after king g7? So rook b8 is a bad move. What would you play to save the day? Yeah, the good move is knight d5, and after rook takes, knight takes, rook b8, you have the move pawn to a3, protecting the knight, and there are no more checks on b1. So bishop d6, rook to d8. So now we are running the pieces on the d file. So knight takes f6, pawn takes f6, and bishop g3. So let's make a stop and have a look at the position. So black is I'm sorry, just watching. So white is a pawn up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It seems the white pawn structure is much better, but white is has problem with his king, because you cannot keep the king on e2 in the center, because it's like the position is too open and those pawns are controlling the king side, so the rook will be able really to make a hard life to this king. Like if you go king e2, even a move like rook d7 might threat some checkmates at some points. I mean, just saying, even you can just go with check, 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 and really give a problem to this king. So you have to short castle and then have a second move to develop your rook. So it means that white needs 2 moves to develop its rook, and while white will play those moves, black has time to eat 1 or even maybe 2 pawns. So white is not that better. I mean, we have a pawn up and a better pawn structure, but it's black turn and they have virtually 2 or 3 moves to win back material. So the position is still very unbalanced, even if strategically we might think, at the first sight, we might think that white is winning. It's totally not the case. It's still very complicated. Though I would say that I'm not confident that black can win the game. I would still give more chance for white to win the game, but it's like 10%, 15% of chance to win the game for white, nothing more. 15% maybe, 10% for black, and 75% for draw, or maybe even more percentage for the draw. So it's perfect situation for Tomaszewski. Let's go a bit further with the Tomaszewski game now. So Tomaszewski game is here. So rook a c1 here was played. So remember we talked about the b2 pawn, again about those pass pawn. But what we need to do when you are an exchange up is to bring your rook to attack the pawns on the open files. So rook c1, pawn to a5, so pushing the pawn. It's trying to bring the pawn to a4 and to rip up the b2 pawn. It's just going to be scary. Of course, Wilder knows that Tomaszewski needs the draw. I mean, he can see the board of Yakovenko, Koryakin as well. So he thinks, I can put some pressure on Tomaszewski anyway. Probably just wants to make the draw, take his Russian title. So rook c7. So obviously, you need to play chess. I mean, you cannot sit on your rank waiting for the draw. You have to win it. So he's going rook c7, pawn to a4, rook takes b7, and bishop takes b2. So now, black is only 3 moves away from glory, pawn to a1, and from maybe winning the game. But the thing is that look at this rook on the b file, it's attacking a lot of minor pieces, and we have to remove each of them in order to be able to push the pawn. It's not going to be an easy task. So white goes bishop to e2, taking advantage of the e file. So b5, sorry. So black goes knight to a2, trying to relocate the knight on c3 and even help more this pawn. So white goes bishop to f3, having a look at the rook. So black goes rook d8, taking advantage of the open file as well. And now white is going in a slightly tactical line, which will bring some simplification. This is what he's searching for. So he goes knight d5. So you might think, oh wow, he's giving a piece in a move. But if you go bishop takes b5, he goes bishop takes b5. Oh no, he goes, he could go bishop takes b5, but even better, he goes rook takes b2. You go bishop f3. He goes pawn to f3. You go knight c3. And he goes rook a1. And now the pawn is really hard to defend because you're defending your pawns 2 times, and he's going just to go like that with the rook, and he's going to attack your pawn 2 times as well, but just kick your knight away and win the a4 pawn. So here white has a big advantage. So you cannot take the knight. The knight is somehow protected, and it attacks the a7 pawn in order to come back to c6, make some troubles. So black goes pawn to e6. Don't want to lose a pawn. Rook to b1, adding some more pressure on the on the bishops. Now, if you move your bishop away, like you go bishop e5, white is going knight e7. It's here we have knight c6 after. So let's go bishop g7. Sorry, it's a wrong move. So if you go bishop g7, white goes knight e7 check, king f8, and knight c6. And well, you don't like to have those troubles on your king with this knight being stronger, and your rook is committed to the h file, h rank. So it's not really good for black to be, but it's playable, but it's not what you want to do. It's better for him objectively to play a3. Don't forget that Zviller doesn't have to win the game, so it's better to go with a3 because this simplification is bringing the game to a totally equal position. So rook takes b3, pawn takes d5, and now black is running some knight c3. And maybe pushing the pawn later on. So the white bet's move here is just to take the bishop. That's what it does. Pawn takes, rook takes b2, and here the game is totally equal. It's a 4 against 4, rook and bishop against rook and knight. But here the position is so equalish that it doesn't make much a difference to have the bishop or the knight, especially because it's a game on one side. Also, the isolated pawn here is not changing anything because you never have a chance to play the e4 move in order to pin the rook, because the king is coming to e7 and to e6, and it's totally equal. So black goes knight c3, rook c2, knight to e4, rook to b2. It's a proposition of draw, as you cannot offer the draw before the 40 moves, but you can play this rook b2, allowing knight c3 back, rook c2, knight e4, rook e2, and both players, I mean, they didn't agree for the draw. Asked for again, the white side asked for the threefold position. This is a draw. So Tomaszewski has the draw. So it means that for us now, Koryakin has to win the game. But by the way he played, I guess you already understood that he was not able to do so. So he goes rook a c8, attacking the pawn. Rook takes g4, rook takes c2, castle, and rook to d5. So he's going for the f pawn, because if you don't take the f pawn, if you take the a2 pawn, it's met by, I don't know if it's better to play f4 or h4, but I mean, we are going to win the g pawn and your king might be in trouble. So black goes rook to d5, pawn to h4, rook takes f5. Now white has to protect its pawn, so he goes rook a4. So you can see that this position, I mean, it's 4 pawns against 4 pawns, and the rook and the bishop is slightly better than the rook and the knight. So it's clear that black is not going to win. So rook d1, the knight is on the edge of the board, so he goes knight c6, rook takes a6, winning a pawn, pawn takes h4, bishop takes h4, rook c4, attacking the bishop, pawn to f3. So if you take the bishop, the knight is going to be taken. Knight b4, attacking the rook and the pawn. Rook a4. And now this is a very long tactical line. All we will see is forced. Rook takes h4. Rook b1, attacking the knight 2 times. The knight is pinned. Rook b5. And here there is a beautiful trap. Let's see if you find it. What happens here after a3? You have 10 seconds to find how black saved the day after the move a3. Look at that, the rooks are pinned. But maybe something can happen here. You can pause the video. Yeah, and black goes knight to c2, and the thing is that when you hit a rook, he's hitting the other one. So it's a very, very funny pattern, is that because it's a double pin in this concrete position, it's not a pin anymore, because when the knight moves, you have no time to take the 2 rook and he's going to take one of them. So it's a very, very funny pattern. I kind of like that. So white goes g4. So he's cutting the double pin and he's creating a simple pin again. But here, black has a very elegant way to save the game. You have 10 seconds to find that. Okay, and black goes knight to a2, forcing rook takes b5, knight c3, rook a5, no, it's the other rook goes to a5, and knight takes b5. So okay, the game was just played for a few moves, but this is a dead draw. It's just waited for the 40 moves to be able to agree for the draw. Here it is, draw offered, draw accepted, and Sergei Karyakin finally, well, seeing the game, it's not a bad result, but of course he would have loved to take the title more than anything else. So let's have a look at the standings. So Tomaszewski won the Russian Chess Championship. Congratulations to him. Koryakin is second. Vityugov third. So this is the podium. 2 really good players. After comes Yakovenko, the top seed, with only 50%. So I don't know the Excel mark, but I guess he lost a lot of FIDE rating. Dubov, the youngster, Khizmatulin with 5.5, and Artemiev. So all those 4 guys are with 50%. Artemiev lost the last 2 games. He was a threat even for the title for quite sometimes, but at the end he just cracked a bit under pressure. Khizmatulin back on 50%, so on the 6th place. He played very unturning chess, and I'm really glad to see he could drive back to a better position. It was a rock bottom at some point in the tournament. And a very disappointing tournament for Zvidler, finishing under the 50% and losing quite some rating points. I mean, he's over 40 years old, and unfortunately, we all have to, in sport, there is a moment where we are declining and getting worse and worse, and maybe it's this moment arrived for Zvidler, unfortunately. But we should not rule him out. He's a very entertaining, talented and player, and a very good commentator. So, let's hope he can find some good form and shine in some tournaments like the World Cup, as Gelfand did. He was like playing worse and suddenly he just won the World Cup. So let's hope for Zvidler that he will have such a fortune as well. And so last thing I wanted to do, is that the only game that was won by Lise today against Artemiev. And a congratulations, just to end up the video, to Goryashkina that won the Women Russian Chess Championship. Didn't cover that at all, but anyway, congratulations to her. She's a teenager and she became the Russian champion. So thank you for having watched this World Championship with me. I wish you a good day, And I say see you soon for the Sinquefield Cup 2015. Bye.